Hey guys, we're here again. Just a quick review of the Burris XTR II 3-15 by 50. It's a tactical scope. I'll be putting this initially on our T3X varmint CTR. It's a compact tactical, mostly for culling. So we'll be running a bit heavier grain bullets and obviously shooting out to some distances. And this particular scope, which I've done a number of hours checking out online and looking through reviews and everything else, I was just impressed. It is the XTR II. They have the XTR III that's out now, which is obviously just an upgrade. But just to give you some background and context, I chose the 3-15. There's a number of different magnification types you can get with this particular scope. But the 3-15 gives me really close up and quick acquisition shots with the 3x, and of course I can stretch it out to 15, which is really good for those longer range headshots on cull animals. So really beneficial for me. But as a hunting package, you know, and a range-based hunting package, this is also a very good magnification range. So let's open it up and have a look. So you've got the box, Burris, find what matters, obviously. In the box you'll get your little book and a couple of stickers and user guide and those types of things. A little Burris scope cleaning cloth there, which is pretty cool. And you've obviously, they supply you with the end caps, which is pretty good. I'm happy about that. It always sucks having to buy those aftermarket, and they're good, obviously, for rainy conditions and stuff like that. You just cover the end cap, and when you need to shoot, you flick them open and away you go. So I really like those. And they've also got your sun visor. I've got these on a number of my scopes. I'm not sure that I've ever used them other than at the range, but obviously some guys do use them, especially if they're using them more as a tactical scope. So, you know, it's already there in the box, ready to go. And then you've got your scope, obviously. So you've got your magnification sitting down the bottom here. Really robust, really strong, 34mm tube. Really well made, and when you look through it, it's just super crisp and clear. It absolutely looks, you know, as good as what they were talking about on the reviews that I read. This is an illuminated scope, so you've got an illumination knob here. You got 5 illuminations for day, and another 5, or I think it's 6 for night. Again, that's very helpful for me with night shooting. And then you've got obviously your elevation. I don't know if you can hear that, but it feels really good. So your elevation and windage, everything feels really tight, really crisp. To look through the scope itself, and also it just looks really crisp. It's a really nice piece of gear. And obviously Burris are doing a great job at pushing out some really good scopes. Price range for this thing is around, in Australian dollars, around the 2100, I think, 21, 22, something like that. So you've got, it's not super cheap, obviously, but at the end of the day, if you want good gear, you're going to pay money for it. I've got a lot of reasonably expensive scopes, and this is certainly, you know, as far as the makeup, the build type, the robustness, this is top of the line. It's just a really good piece of gear. Bit of detail about it itself, as I said before, a 34mm tube. I'll talk about that in a sec to give you an idea of why. It's also first focal plane. I'll also talk about that separately and give you an idea why. But you've got basically, obviously, the general details. It's 3-15, which I've already explained. It's a 50mm objective to give you more light, obviously at the start of the day and the end of the day, into the scope, and hopefully extend your hunting time a little bit more. It's a full aluminium cast make. It's obviously your glass inside has this patented Burris triple blah blah, you know, super clean, super crisp glass, and I can actually vouch for the fact that it is. I mean, I know all the scope makers, they tell you that they've got all this kind of special, you know, patented gear that they use and whatever else, but you know, as far as this scope's concerned, I've got a couple of high-end vortexes. You know, I've shot with Swarovski and all sorts of other different types of scopes as well. And this is super crisp. It is very, very good. So I can already see that in low light conditions, this thing's going to be magnificent. It's fog proof. It's shock proof. It's got triple sealed. All the joints are triple sealed. To give it, you know, complete shock-proof kind of longevity, I guess. So for all your higher calibers and things like that, you won't have a problem with this scope. And one of the other things which I really like, and this is one for a lot of years, I've only ever used vortexes because I really love the fact that vortex scopes had the lifetime warranty. And Burris has the same. They have the forever warranty, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I think more scope companies and probably rifle companies should get on board this kind of thing. So, you know, you have any problem with the scope at any time, as long as you've registered it when you got it, you know, you can return it and they'll fix it or replace it. So, which is bloody fantastic. Those kind of warranties are really good. As far as your travel at 100 yards, you've got 110 MOA of travel. So obviously that gives you really good elevation capabilities. And next we'll have a look at a few different things about the mounts and the scopes and the details, which I'll show you on the actual Tikka T3X CTR. It'll be mounted on there, and then Jersey will be taking it out the range to dial it in for me. So just a quick, really non-technical view of first focal plane versus second focal plane. I chose first focal plane with this particular scope purely because your holdover marks in first focal plane don't change. So because the actual reticle is sitting in front of the magnification, in a first focal plane rifle, that means the reticle will look like it's expanding and retracting as you dial up or dial down the scope magnification. In a second focal plane scope, that won't happen. The reticle will look the same size all the time. But what it does mean in a second focal plane scope is if you're using your holdover marks for shooting or hunting, as you dial the magnifications up on the scope, those holdover marks, the point of impact will change. So the benefit for me is with the first focal point, I can dial up or dial down the scope because I'll use the magnification quite a bit depending on the distance to the animals, because I really want to get headshots out of this rifle and this kind of setup. So dialing up, I don't want the holdovers to be affected by the issue of the magnification, which is what you get with the second focal plane scope. It's a personal choice thing, but there are some practical applications for it. As I said, with the first focal plane, your holdover marks will not change as you increase or decrease your magnification on the actual scope itself. So it does mean that obviously the reticle will look further away or closer to you as you increase or decrease your magnification. But overall, that's pretty much the only difference between first focal plane and second focal plane. Righto, 34mm tube. Why did I choose a 34mm tube? Really, the only reason I chose the 34mm tube is because this scope will probably cross a couple of different rifles depending on what we do. We do some fairly long-range hunting when we go to New Zealand and certainly in Africa as well. So I may well chuck this on one of my 300 Win Mags, in which case I want, really good elevation, as far as my turret movement is concerned. And the bigger tube just gives you greater windage, greater elevation. That's about it. There is no, as far as I've read myself, there is no greater benefit to the visual clarity of the scope in low light conditions or anything like that. Your 50mm objective, or if you go with a 56mm, that gives you that kind of better light induction through the scope. But your 34mm tube is really all about a much greater elevation and much greater windage, benefits. So that's about it, and that's why I chose it. But it does mean you have to get 34mm rings. So again, the XTR Burris have their own rings, which I'll show you once I show you this on the rifle. Alrighty, this is the rifle that the scope's been mounted on. This is the T3X Varmint. It's a CTR, compact tactical rifle, and the caliber is 223, so it's probably a bit overscoped for this rifle, but I use, this rifle will be used mostly for culling, so I like to have really good gear on top of anything that I'm using for culling, because most of the times you need to be doing headshots, so I want a really good scope, some really good glass on top of the rifle. And this Burris obviously ticks all the boxes, as you would have already heard me talk about. I've got full elevation, both inside the scope with the reticle and windage markers, and I've also got really good tactical turrets to use, and plus your illumination, which is sitting on the side here as well. So the mounts, this is mounted on the Burris XTR Signature Series 34mm rings. I've already had a number of guys contact me on Instagram and a few on Facebook saying, where did I get those rings? Because for some reason in Australia, 34mm rings are not readily available anymore. But I can tell you right now that that Beretta stock them. So anyone that's selling Beretta gear is able to get the XTR rings. So Signature Series rings. So they're really good, solid set of rings. And obviously with this kind of tube width, you need 34mm. So all works really well. Okay, some of the technical bits about the scope itself. Obviously it's black matte, which is great. It weighs about 876 grams. I had to look at my screen because I'd done a calculation. It was in ounces. So your eye relief is 3.5 to 4.25 inches. So really good eye relief on this thing. It runs a CR2032 battery for your illumination, which are pretty common batteries these days. The optical coating, which I talked about earlier, is this multi-lume optical coating that is patented by Burris, which is obviously pretty good gear. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I already mentioned shock-proof, fog-proof, all of that kind of stuff, which a lot of these high-end scopes come in at. And your price range between 2 and 2,200 Aussie, I believe, which is pretty reasonable for a very high-end scope. Your parallax is 50 to infinity. And that's the same as your focus range is 52 infinity. So I don't know if you can see, that's your parallax there on the side, and the illumination is outside that there. Very easy to use. Everything feels really strong, really well made, and ready to go. The scope, the turret mounts themselves have little Allen key points. I don't know if you can see those. But basically, once you've zeroed this to your rifle, you undo the turret point and then re-zero around to your 0 point for your correct elevation. And away you go. Should be good to shoot, and looks like a bloody great piece of gear. The one other thing I will say is that one of the things that impressed me before I ordered it was that, you know, the reviews online, they're just, people were raving about these things. So I know that sometimes you've got to take that stuff with a bit of a grain of salt, but from what I've seen so far, this looks bloody excellent. So I'll be interested to hear what Jersey has to say once she takes it out to the range and sights it, zeroes it in at 100 for us, which will be in the next video. Look out for that one. Of course, jump on. We love you guys supporting us with I Am Hunter and everything else, so we can put these things out to give you a hand, hopefully, in the choices you're going to make as well. So check us out on Instagram, check us out on Facebook. IamHunter.net is one of our websites. Huntshack.net is the other website. And Huntshack on Facebook and Instagram. And then you've got our local ones that you can follow as well. So good luck and good shooting. Thanks, guys.